Resigned as the health secretary. What does it mean for Starmer? We break it down for you. But first, let's talk about the Trump-Xi meeting that was held today. A state banquet unfolded in Beijing today for visiting U.S. President Donald Trump and the host leader Xi Jinping. This lavish event also saw top dignitaries and American business leadership in attendance. Both Trump and Xi arrived at the banquet, all smiles, seated next to each other. Shortly after, the two leaders raised a toast to each other as well, with mutual admiration and a friendly exchange on full display. The Chinese president, in his opening remarks, said that progress and greatness of both the countries can go hand in hand.
The people of China and the United States are both great peoples. Achieving the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation and making America great again can absolutely go hand in hand, help each other succeed, and advance the well-being of the whole world.
Donald Trump, on his part, took the podium next with friendly remarks of his own. The U.S. president spoke of productive conversations earlier, signaling progress on both sides.
We had extremely positive and productive conversations and meetings today with the Chinese delegation earlier. And this evening is another cherished opportunity to discuss among friends some of the things that we discussed today, all good for the United States and for China, and it was a great honor to be with you.
Trump has invited the Chinese president and his wife, Peng Liyuan, to visit the United States on the 24th of September this year. More talks and meetings are scheduled ahead, with the U.S. president in the country till the 15th of May. Well, let me welcome my guests on the show tonight. I'm joined by Mr. Adrian Gegis. He is the German book writer and journalist, author of the biography Xi Jinping, the Most Powerful Man in the World. He's been a foreign correspondent in China for several years. He's joining us live from Germany at the moment. Mr. Gegis, welcome to WION. Can I start by asking you what, for you, were the big takeaways of the Trump-Xi summit today?
The big takeaway really was the flattering. So, I mean, on the one hand, China organized everything to flatter Donald Trump by these children welcoming him, of course, the army parade and so on. And they calculated this very clever because they know Donald Trump is a personality. He likes this kind of things. And he replied by saying, yeah, Xi Jinping is the great leader, greatest leader, best friends, and so on. And this was exactly the aim of Xi Jinping, to flatter Donald Trump, to get be successful then in the negotiations. And from what we can see so far, it worked. I mean, as you mentioned before, I mean, principally these two countries are rivals, but today it looks as if they are best friends.
You know, it's interesting, Mr. Gegis, that they have been rivals, but today they're talking about a partnership. And I want to understand from you, whether it's Xi Jinping or Donald Trump, both the leaders have talked about not being rivals and being partners of this new crossroads that the world is standing at. But here's the interesting bit. How will China and America, two rivals for the longest of times and now fighting in the AI sector, come together and, be united as partners in partnership? Would it be possible at all?
I don't think so that it would be possible in the long term, because, I mean, China is the rising superpower, US is the declining superpower. China is governed by the Communist Party, a dictatorship. the United States had been known as a free and a democratic country. So I think the reason is China wants to buy time, and it's good for China, for the Chinese leadership, for the Communist Party to have some good economic relationship to the United States. I mean, as you know, China also has some economic problems. They have a big unemployment of young people. They have overproduction. They need to sell their products all over the world. So for China, it is the best to get time to develop. And so in the short term, they may come together, especially because it's always complicated with Donald Trump. He likes strong men like Xi Jinping and Putin, so he is impressed by Xi Jinping. But I think in the long term, these two countries have very different interests.
Mr. Gegis, since you have been closely associated with writing about Xi Jinping, you've written his biography. I want to understand from you how he really looks at this entire visit. He's a man who's rarely been, seen smiling in public events. Today we saw him being, at least warming up to Donald Trump, the U.S. president. How is he going to take this forward? Because clearly, an issue like Taiwan remains a big contentious issue between the two countries. On the other hand, both countries have agreed upon the non-militarization or the demilitarization of the Strait of Hormuz. So there have been common decisions, common interests, but there have been very deep sticking points as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, Xi Jinping is a very different personality compared to Donald Trump. He is a convinced communist. He has a long-term vision. He wants to make China, under leadership of the Communist Party, to the strongest country in the world. And as you mentioned, Taiwan is extremely important for him. He wants to unite, as he calls it. Some people would say to conquer Taiwan in his lifetime and in his time in office. This shall be part of his legacy, and this must lead to a conflict with the United States. Only if the United States, if Donald Trump betrays Taiwan. So far, he hasn't done it, but it's Xi Jinping mentioned it today. Taiwan is the most important point in the relation to the United States. They want that the United States give up on Taiwan, speak directly against an independence of Taiwan. And so if the U.S. does this, yes, Taiwan is lost. But
Donald Trump might not have spoken about it, Mr. Gegis, but Marco Rubio did. He said to the media that the U.S. stance remains firm and the same that it has been on Taiwan for the past several decades. So what do you make of it then? How does this move forward?
Yeah, you are absolutely right. I mean, Marco Rubio, as the foreign minister, as the Secretary of State, has a completely different opinion in this regard. He has his experience with communism. His family fled from Cuba. So he has a very clear opinion on this. But in the system of the United States, the final decision maker is the president. And so it's big question to look how long he will listen to people like Marco Rubio, or whether he will, for some spontaneous decision or for some deal, give up on Taiwan.
All right, so we'll have to wait and see how this really moves forward, this entire relationship. I'll leave it there. Mr. Adrian Gegis, thanks very much for joining us on WION and sharing your perspective.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, with that, let's shift our focus now to the UK, where Prime Minister Keir Starmer is possibly facing the toughest test of his political career, as falling public support and rising pressure within the Labour Party continues to threaten his leadership. In a fresh blow to the UK Prime Minister today, his Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, resigned from the cabinet, citing loss of confidence in leadership. In fact, in an open letter to Keir Starmer, Wes Streeting said that the leadership has drifted in circumstances where a direction is needed.
You don't agree with the Governor of the Bank of England, but you can't explain why. Now, seemingly, you don't agree even with your own economic advisor. Could you please point to any evidence whatsoever beyond argument and beyond a view
beyond
that
argument? You don't
there
want
would
argument.
not be an economic shock in the event of Brexit?
Keir Starmer, remember, has vowed to fight for his position, but he continues to face growing calls to step down after Labour's poor performance in last week's local elections. However, he's warned ministers and MPs that a Labour leadership contest would plunge the party into chaos amid rising speculation over a possible challenge from West Streeting for the top post.
The Sergeant-at-Arms has confirmed that Senator Bato is no longer in the building. His wife told me that after he saw that someone would go so far as attacking the Senate just to get him, that's why he did it. If I were in his shoes...
Growing discontent over key policy decisions and Labour's electoral setback have prompted over 90 of Starmer's MPs to call for his resignation, while 4 junior ministers resigned earlier this week. Streeting's resignation has further deepened Keir Starmer's battle for political survival. At a time when Starmer's future in the Downing Street appears more uncertain than ever, King Charles delivered the King's Speech in the UK Parliament, outlining the government's legislative priorities for the upcoming session. This includes plans on economy, immigration, energy, housing and public services, police reforms. In fact, he also raised stakes for a government that is already under intense pressure to deliver. All right, let me go across to our correspondent, John Bevere, who's joining us from Bristol, UK. John, challenging times ahead for Keir Starmer, but help us understand this. You've got West Streeting, who's now resigned. He's been a vocal critic of Keir Starmer. One, does he have the numbers to launch a leadership challenge within the Labour Party? Number 2, he has contenders like Andy Burnham, Catherine West and Angela Rayner who can throw their hat as well into this entire battle. How does this move forward? What next?
Yeah, it's a very interesting situation, isn't it? And the way that things work with the Labour Party is there is no official vote of no confidence that will take place in the Prime Minister. But in order to trigger that leadership contest, then about 80, I think it's 81 in fact, MPs, they have to all get behind one person. So as you mentioned, there might be 90 plus MPs who are saying that they're not happy with Keir Starmer as the leader of the Labour Party and by default, therefore, the Prime Minister. But in fact, what you need is at least 81 of those MPs to get behind one other name. So, of course, Wes Streeting very much hopes it will be him. In a letter, he said he'd lost confidence in the leadership of Keir Starmer. He said, where we need vision, we have a vacuum. So very interesting as to whether he's going to be able to get the support that he needs. He is, of course, the first person to throw his hat into the ring. There are others who you would expect will try and get involved as well. Andy Burnham, as you mentioned, he's the mayor of Greater Manchester up in northwest England. He's not even a sitting MP, so he would need to be elected as an MP first before he could become Prime Minister. So if it were to be him, then actually it's a much longer process. That would need to be something that he would get involved in. So yes, these are very interesting times. And of course, on top of all of this, there is still the country to be run. There are still many issues that need to be fixed here in the UK.
That's right. So we'll have to see, John, whether Keir Starmer's resignation would put the country into chaos, or, as the others have been saying, his not resigning will lead the country into chaos. We'll leave it there. Thanks very much, John Bevere, for joining us with the latest. All right, with that, let's shift our focus now to India. 10 days after winning a resounding mandate in the state of Kerala, the Congress High Command has finally announced V.D. Satheesan as the next Chief Minister of the state. This decision was made public at a press conference by AICC in charge of Kerala, Deepa Das Munshi, and the party's central observers for the state. The 3 main contenders, remember, for the post of Chief Minister were V.D. Satheesan himself, K.C. Venugopal and Ramesh Chennithala. Soon after the decision was announced, celebrations began at the Congress office in Thiruvananthapuram.
have to make changes. We have to start a new era. I promise to the people of Kerala that there should be a new Kerala. For the youngsters, those who are coming up, the next generation, for the next generation also, we will be very careful. We will dedicate. We are going to change the definition of political work. I hope that political work should be a dedication to the people to change their living standard.
The announcement came a day after former Congress chief Rahul Gandhi met with Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge for about 40 minutes, after which the Congress said that all deliberations and discussions by the High Command have been completed. A decision on the next Kerala Chief Minister had been pending, remember, since the 4th of May, when the Congress-led UDF had bagged 102 out of the 140 seats in the states, which is more than two-thirds a majority. And our correspondent Binoy Krishnan R has sent us this report from Thiruvananthapuram. Take a look.
After 10 days of intense deliberation following the election results, the Congress High Command officially announced V.D. Satheesan as the new Chief Minister of Kerala. The new Chief Minister's swearing-in ceremony is scheduled to take place this coming Monday. V.D. Satheesan, after the Congress Legislative Party meeting, will meet the governor later today to stake his claim to form the government. Alongside the leadership transition, the Congress High Command has a significant task of pacifying K.C. Venugopal and Ramesh Chennithila, both of whom were excluded from the shortlist in the final stage of the race for the post of CM. R. Binoy Krishnan reporting for WION from Thiruvananthapuram.
From Kerala, let's move to Tamil Nadu, where the rift within the AIADMK continues to widen after several ministers in the party backed the Chief Minister Vijay, leading him to win his first floor test in the State Assembly with 144 votes. Now, after the TVK government won the trust vote with a clear majority, AIADMK General Secretary Edappadi K. Palaniswamy removed 26 rebel district secretaries, including 12 legislators, from their positions. Those sacked from their posts included C.V. Shanmugam and S.P. Velumani, who led the group of MLAs that backed Vijay. Questions have now arisen over the grounds of disqualification of the members in case of defection. Amid this growing split, both leaders have called for the reinduction of key figures V.K. Sasikala and T.T.V. Dinakaran into the party after they were expelled in 2017. Velumani stressed that the party must focus on unity and strength instead of further expulsions. Meanwhile, heavy police deployment was seen at the AIADMK headquarters, with extra forces stationed to prevent a repeat of the violent clashes between rival factions back in 2022. Israel might be heading to early elections. The country's ruling coalition has submitted a proposal to dissolve the parliament to pave the way for early elections. The move, initiated by Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party, came as the prime minister appears to be facing a possible collapse of his fractious coalition. According to Israeli media, the bill could be put to a vote next week, and it is widely expected to pass. The bill did not specify an election date, but if lawmakers vote to dissolve the Knesset, elections must be held after 90 days and within 5 months, which would essentially mean that the election could happen from the third week of August till late October. The election is currently scheduled for the 27th of October this year. Netanyahu has come under mounting attack, remember, from ultra-Orthodox parties. They accuse Netanyahu of failing to deliver on his promise to pass a legislation that would permanently exempt young men from their community from compulsory military service. Sensing an opportunity amid the turmoil, several opposition parties announced that they intended to introduce their own bill to dissolve the Knesset. But Likud's announcement appears to have preempted the move, allowing Netanyahu to seize control of the electoral timetable. Israel's main opposition leader, Yair Lapid, was swift to respond. He wrote on X, "We are ready together," referring to his new alliance with former Premier Naftali Bennett. Last month, Lapid and Bennett had announced that they would fight the upcoming election on a joint list. Netanyahu, remember, has governed Israel longer than any other prime minister so far, more than 18 years in total since 1996. He's again seeking another term despite facing a long-running corruption trial. A political poll by Israel's public broadcaster Kan, published on Tuesday this week, put Likud in first place in voting intentions with a narrow lead over the opposition alliance. As per this poll, Likud would win 26, as you can see, out of 120 seats in the Knesset, but it's down from 32 in the outgoing parliament, while Be'ahat coalition would secure 25. However, neither bloc appears capable of forming a government given the fractured electorate. Moving on, controversy continues over a Philippine senator who is evading arrest on an ICC warrant. Ronald De La Rosa, the former drug war enforcer, was in hiding at the Senate building for days until he fled from there too. Rosa is wanted for crimes against humanity during anti-drug operations in the country. Now, the update comes after gunshots rang out at the Philippine Senate on Wednesday this week. Military troops have been deployed at the location ever since Rosa has been in hiding to evade arrest. A short while back, Philippine Senate President confirmed that Rosa had fled the premises after gunfire.
The sergeant at arms has confirmed that Senator Bato is no longer in the building. His wife told me that after he saw that someone would go so far as attacking the Senate just to get him, that's why he did it. If I were in his shoes, I would escape when it's least expected.
Families of victims who were killed during the anti-drug operation in 2017 have slammed Rosa for evading arrest and accused the state apparatus of protecting him from a trial at The Hague.
Lumabas ka na. Show yourself. Surrender and face your crimes. If you have not committed any crimes, then you haven't done it. This is your time to defend yourself because there is a process. There is due process for you. Unlike our children, what due process did we have when our children were killed?
Just hours before the Senate attack incident, Rosa had posted a video on social media platform Facebook urging people and authorities to block his arrest.
Magandang hapon, mga kababayan.
Good afternoon, my countrymen. We received information that after our session today, there are operatives from the National Bureau of Investigation and Criminal Investigation and Detection Group who will head here to arrest me. I am here calling for your help. Let us not have another Filipino brought to The Hague like President Duterte.
The ICC issued an arrest warrant on Monday this week for his alleged role in ex-Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte's drug war. Thousands of civilians are said to have been killed during the crackdown in 2017. Rosa was the police chief between 2016 and 18. A key political event has been unfolding in Gaza amid fragile peace and sporadic strikes in the region. Members of the Fatah movement have gathered for a 3-day conference in Gaza City now. The Palestinian political movement, which is led by President Mahmoud Abbas, gathered at Al-Azhar University in Gaza City to elect a new central committee. This is happening for the first time in 10 years. Over 2,500 members of the Fatah are attending this crucial meet.
The importance of holding a Fatah conference in Gaza means that the movement is alive and still present in Gaza despite the wars, the killings, the war of extermination, and the political infighting.
A similar event is also unfolding in the Palestinian territory of occupied West Bank. This is the 8th conference happening after a long gap across Palestinian regions. The conference is happening at a time when Palestine, especially Gaza, stares at a leadership void in the enclave that has been destroyed in Israeli strikes. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has pledged reforms within the Palestinian Authority. Abbas also announced that he's ready to conduct presidential and parliamentary elections, which have long been overdue. Fatah, remember, is part of the larger umbrella alliance of Palestinian Liberation Organization, or the PLO, which does not include Islamist groups like Hamas and Islamic Jihad. Hamas gained immense political ground after winning elections in 2006, but with most of its political wing leadership killed, there are questions on whether rival leader Mahmoud Abbas will step down. And if he does, who will the successor be to lead the Palestinian territories? With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Race to Power. As always, we will keep getting you updates and analysis from India and across the world. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Bye-bye.
Two superpowers, two dealmakers. Trump and Xi face to face. From trade wars to Tehran, tech wars to Taiwan. Live reports from the ground. Expert analysis from across the world.
So even over in that delegation.
Who has the cards? On the high stakes, high risk meet. Trump-Xi meeting. Special coverage. Only on WION.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances, power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
WION, India's global voice. The channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one. In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter. Because we believe in decoding